We have some major news involving one Baltimore Orioles pitcher who's on his way back from Tommy John surgery. In this episode of Orioles Digest, I'll give you all of that and more breaking news involving the Baltimore Orioles, so stay tuned. Welcome to Orioles Digest. I'm your host, Kam Brice. And like I say in every video, before you do anything, hit that subscribe button. If you're a parts percentage, let's change that today. Guys, almost at 1,000 subscribers. Keep pushing. We're so close. In a recent interview with MLB.com, one reporter got some good insight on the return of Felix Bautista. In a recent interview with Orioles manager Brandon Hyde, Jake Real from the MLB.com said, and I quote, Orioles manager Brandon Hyde said, he's been in Sarasota in the recent weeks and has been around Felix Bautista, who is already down there prepping for the spring. He looks really good, Hyde said. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, Felix Bautista was one of the most dominant pitchers in the MLB. Yes, the entire MLB. He was the best closer, and it wasn't even close by a mile. He was so dominant that teams were so afraid to face him in that ninth inning. You got a guy that's 6'7", well over 250 pounds, just staring you down, throwing a fastball that's hitting up to 100 miles per hour, a slider, a cutter. He even had a curve from here and there. He had so many arsenal pitches that it was just so hard to hit off of him. And we've seen the relationship that he grew with Adley Rutschman and James McCann. Felix Bautista was very dominant in his time with the Orioles. Now, 2 years ago, he got hurt before the playoffs, and that kind of hurt the Baltimore Orioles as they were going into their first playoff appearance in so long that team just missed out on Felix Bautista. And when Felix Bautista went down, we saw the whole bullpen go down. Now, when Felix Bautista was healthy, the Baltimore had the fifth best bullpen in the MLB. Yes, they had the fifth best bullpen, and that was when Yennier Cano, that was his rookie season also, Yennier Cano was dominant too. So we kind of saw that 1-2 punch where you would put Yennier Cano in the 6th and 7th inning, and Felix Bautista would come out in the ninth and close it out. And it worked. It was a great formula for the Baltimore Orioles. But last season, the Baltimore Orioles bullpen struggled so much, and it was mostly because they were missing that closer in Felix Bautista. Now, Craig Campbell was not a good guy at all. The Baltimoreans could not depend on him last year. They had to DFA him at one point. It just didn't work out. And I was so confused when they went out there and got him for about $13-14 million last season on a 1 year deal. It didn't make sense, but they needed a guy to hold this team together, and he didn't do that. Orioles' plan is going to be to ease Felix Bautista out throughout the whole season. Now, he might be the opening closer on opening day, but he's not going to be going every other day. They're not going to force him. It's not going to be some nights where he's going to pitch in the ninth, he's going to pitch in the eighth the next. No, he's going to have a kind of a workload. So I expect Felix Bautista to kind of pitch half the innings that he did 2 years ago. But when the playoffs come, that's when you ramp him up to how he was in 2022. Now, I think this is very important that you're getting a guy like Felix Bautista back. Even in the playoffs, when Corbin Burns was sensational, the Baltimore Orioles need their bullpen to step up because their offense was lackluster. Their bullpen couldn't step up. Now, the hard part of I expect Felix Bautista to not be that active in spring training. He'll get some bullpen sessions. He'll come out in the closer role sometimes, but don't expect him to every time you turn your TV on to see Felix Bautista out there because that's not what's going to happen. We have to remain cautious with this guy. He's the future of this bullpen. He's still very young, still very dominant, and when he's healthy, he is one of the best pitchers in baseball. So the Baltimore's have to take their time and make sure Felix is okay. Ramp him up and throughout the season, and when the playoffs come, then you can take him off the leash. So I know I've talked about the Baltimore Orioles bullpen a lot, but I want to take a deep dive into why I think this could be one of the best bullpens in the MLB this season. Now we look at some stats. The Baltimore Orioles had the 22nd ranked bullpen last year. That wasn't their formula. Over the past couple years, when they were a playoff team and they were one of the best teams in the AL, we saw that the Baltimore Orioles formula was to score a lot, hit a lot of home runs, but also have a dominant bullpen. And they didn't have that last year, which caused them to have failures in the playoffs once again. And also their offensive production did not follow up. Now, 2 years ago, they had probably the best bullpen in the AL. They had a top five bullpen in the entire MLB. And that's what helped them, even when they had guys like Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, who were very young. Jackson Holliday didn't even show up. Jordan Westbrook had just got up to the MLB, and Colton Cowser was still in that way when he was struggling in Norfolk and the MLB. So I took a look on Fangraphs, and they had their projected bullpen for every team, and I clicked on the Baltimore Orioles, and I saw this was pretty interesting. At closer, they had Felix Bautista. Then they have Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aiken, middle reliever, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Yanir Cano, Gregory Soto, Ciano Perez. Then they have Albert Suarez as kind of a spot starter or a long relief role. This is a very, very solid, actually elite bullpen because you have so many guys that can play so many different types of roles. Say Felix Bautista doesn't recover from Tommy John, they have to sit him back down to the IL for a couple like 15 to 30 days. Yunier Cano can go in that closer spot. Gregory Soto, Sir Anthony Dominguez, possibly throw Keegan Aiken in there. You also have multiple roles that Felix Bautista does not have to pitch every single night. He doesn't have to be that closer that you need every single night. You can switch off from Felix Bautista, Sir Anthony Dominguez, or Gregory Soto. The bullpen was very bad last year, and most of it to blame was Craig Kimbrell because he was setting up guys in different positions. Now they have guys who are younger. You look at these age ranks. Felix Bautista, 29. Andrew Kittredge is about to be 35. Keegan Aiken, almost 30. Sir Anthony Dominguez, 30. Yunier Cano, 30. Gregory Soto, 30. Ciano Perez is still 28 years old. I want to say an interesting stat about Ciano Perez that a lot of people might not know. He didn't give up a single homer last year. That's very good. Even though his ERA was pretty high, he gave a lot of earned runs and walks. Didn't give up a single homer. And if the Baltimore Orioles can limit homers this season, I think that bullpen could be one of the best in the MLB. Now we go to Albert Suarez. He's 35. I don't know what type of role he will play. I don't know if he's going to be 5 or 6 starter, if he's possibly going to go to the starting rotation, or he's going to go to the middle relief role. We don't know, but it's always good to have certain different options. You can also throw a guy like Cade or Chase McDermott in the bullpen. So the Baltimore's have so many different types of people they can go to. I really think their bullpen is a strong suit. It could be one of the best in baseball. If they can stay healthy, this will be the best bullpen in baseball. We talked about Felix Bautista today. We talked about the Orioles bullpen and why I think it'd be one of the best bullpens in the MLB. We also talked about Brandon Hyde and Mike Elias' comments on Felix and when he could return. They said he'll be ready for opening day, but let's not get his hopes up. He's going to be ramping up throughout the season, so we shouldn't expect the 2022 version of Felix Bautista yet. I would expect that later after the All-Star break, but when they ramp him up, Félix Bautista will be back to his normal self after the All-Star break. Thank you for watching Orioles Digest. Hit that subscribe button. If you're a Pars percentage, let's change that today. Guys, I'm going to say it again. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Keep pushing, and peace out.